Hello everyone, my name is Arindam. This program is a part of Prerana Readiness for Employment Program, in short, PREPS. Today, we are going to discuss the 13th chapter of Vikas, which is conflict management. It is an important part of the life skill manual. Now let us start learning how to manage and deal with conflicts as given in this lesson. Okay? Before that, few instructions. There will be some slides where you will be asked to pause and think about the contents of the slide and then proceed to the next slide. You can watch the video any number of times. Then, at the end of the presentation, you will be completing an assignment which will help you in making sure you have understood the topic completely and thoroughly. Now, let us start. You can see in the slide there is a picture of two people sitting in a boat. What are they doing? They are trying to row the boat, intending to move. Is the boat moving? No, it is not. Why? It appears that these two people are in some sort of disagreement as how to move the boat and in which direction. There you can visualize that a conflict has arisen. Having visualized this picture, how a conflict looks like, let us try to define conflict in words. Conflict results from a perceived or a real disagreement of what? Opinion or purpose, idea or a need. Conflict can be defined as opposition of opinions or purpose that may cause stress, mental strife, lead to a fight between people or argument and disagreements which may lead to heated discussions. Now, after defining conflict, we must ponder why should conflict between people arise at all? You may appreciate that no two people can be alike or identical. Even if you find twin brothers, twin sisters, or the best of friends, very close relatives, they will still not be the same because they will have different needs, they will inculcate different values in themselves, will have different ideologies through their upbringing, they will have different ways of reacting to the same situation. They will have different methods of thinking about the same problem. And obviously, their style of communication will not be identical. Then they will also have different type of assertiveness. Some of us may be very silent while communicating. Some of us would prefer to speak more or being extrovert. So the level of assertiveness in people will always differ. Then the foremost is the differences in cultures. The way we have been brought up will always be different. So we know now that no two people can be identical. Having understood that, what could be the consequences of a conflict situation? Do you agree that conflict is natural in our life? Why? Because we, at one time or the other, must have faced some sort of conflict. Nobody can tell that he has had no conflict in his or her life. It is not the conflict, it is the reaction to the conflict that makes the conflict positive or functional or resolvable or dysfunctional. Now, having understood that, is conflict good for us? So, what is a bad conflict and what could be a good conflict? Conflict is termed bad when it happens between people or groups and results in negative situations, causing stress, tension, frustration, hostility, leads to a bad judgment, cause ill health, and results in diversion of the aim and purpose for which the discussion is being held. Then such conflict is called dysfunctional or negative conflict. Having understood what is a bad conflict, what is a good conflict? Now, conflict can be termed as good when it is about varying ideas, different ideas between people and result in the following situations. It creates new opportunities to explore further options, increases the domain of knowledge, information, and ideas. Thus, it helps in generating new ideas, insights, and understanding different perspectives. Thus, such conflicts encourages creative thinking and unshackles different points of views, then such conflict is termed as functional conflict or positive conflicts. Having understood good and bad conflicts, we must understand what are the types of conflicts. Conflicts are mainly of two types. The first is external, which is a conflict between people or groups. Such conflicts are called interpersonal conflict. Then there is something which is from the person's psyche, that is from within us. Such conflicts are called intrapersonal conflict. Now, conflicts can also be divided based on situations. There are certain situations which can be changed or modified. They are called negotiable situations. Like, for instance, the method of cleanliness or the method of repair, etc. Here, the solution lies in negotiating a win-win situation. Please remember the phrase win-win situation. It will help you in understanding things when you read about conflicts in future. Then there are non-negotiable situations which are normally trauma over death or a fatal accident or loss of huge properties through fire, etc., and major illnesses like cancer. Here, the solution lies in changing the reactions and responses. Having understood the types of conflicts, let us do an exercise where you are to narrate certain personal experiences, conflicting situations, and state whether they were negotiable or non-negotiable situations. You can pause the video, answer the question, and then continue to the next slide. Now, let us understand what are the common reasons or causes of conflicts. You have already understood that people will have conflicts because people are different and not identical. However, some of the common causes of a conflict situation could be as follows. The first and the foremost is the way you look at others' point of view, or your ability or inability to look at somebody else's point of view. So difference in viewpoints, lack of appreciation of viewpoints of others can be a cause of conflict. Another most important of reason for conflict could be the way we communicate. While we communicate positively, politely to the people in the group, at certain times, consciously or unconsciously, we can make sarcastic remarks, use harsh, undesirable tone, and negative facial expressions. In such kind of communication will lead to conflict. Another common cause of conflict is when in a group while you are discussing, you have developed and carried certain strong hatred or dislike for some people. Like, for instance, you have a strong dislike with Ram or Gopal in the group, and you are discussing something which is arguable. Definitely, it can lead to conflict. So, it is better that your strong likes and dislikes should be kept aside and you should be objective while you are discussing a problem. Another issue which comes in the way of generating conflict is when you carry an emotional garbage bag. What is an emotional garbage? Emotional garbage is something in your memory which you have kept which is negative. Like, for instance, keeping in mind your past rivalry with a person with whom you are discussing a point. Remembering negative thoughts about that person will lead to a conflict. The other common cause could be trust deficit. Like, for instance, you are discussing a problem with a teacher and you are aware that there is a trust deficit and the teacher does not like you, is bad and partial. So, obviously, the arguments will not be positive and will lead to a conflict. Another common cause could be your own personal ego and need for self validation. Like, for instance, in the group, you're feeling that you are being ignored. So, your need for validation and your sense of ego will not allow you to be objective in the discussions, and that will cause conflict. It is better that you keep aside your ego and listen to other people carefully without the need for validation of your ego. Another reason which can be considered as one of the causes of conflict is when you feel bored and frustrated and do not enjoy the current discussions which are taking place. In that case, there will be a conflict because you are not exactly interested in the discussion. Last but not the least is your health. If you are not feeling good, if you are feeling feverish, if you have not slept the last night, it can irritate you. And while you are irritated, it is better not to be a part of discussion because that will lead to a conflict. So, having understood and identified the common causes which can cause conflict, let us do an exercise. This exercise is meant to make you define the common cause of conflict by understanding the kind of comments made by team members. There are 5 comments which are on the left side. You have to just indicate what is the cause that may lead to the conflict. You can pause the video here, answer the question, and then continue. After understanding the causes or the common causes of conflict, we need to find out if there are any standard strategies or methods for resolving a conflict situation. You may appreciate, the most important tactic to overcome any conflict is to remove the underlying cause itself, which you have read and understood in your previous slide. However, there are five standard methodologies of resolving a conflict. You can resolve a conflict firstly by completely dominating the conflict situation, by telling, okay, I know better than you, I am the best. So that is called a dominating or competing strategy. The second methodology for resolving a conflict situation is to try to withdraw from the conflict itself or by escaping it. Here, your interest lies in avoiding the conflict. You are not interested in the solution. You want to just escape the conflict. That is called the strategy of avoiding. The third style of conflict resolution could be where you are wanting to reach an agreement as quickly as possible without much thinking about the fair degree of solution. That is called a strategy of compromising. The fourth strategy is the strategy where your main aim is to be good and not to hurt others. This is called accommodating strategy. The fifth strategy is where the attempt is to find a comprehensive solution through positive discussions with one and all, with the objective to solve the problem altogether. This strategy is called strategy of collaborating. Now you may be interested to know how these five strategies and from where it came. So there were two social scientists, Thomas and Kilman, who devised this model in 1974 called TKI model, where he brought up these five strategies. He devised these strategies based on study of the degree of assertiveness, which is a human behavior variable, and the degree of cooperativeness. Normally, the degree of assertiveness should contradict the degree of cooperativeness. But the best conflict resolution will come from where? Where there is a fair mixture of both assertiveness and cooperativeness in order to get the most optimized solution. That is called the model of integration or the model or the strategy of collaboration. Having understood that, let us finally summarize how and on what the resolution of a conflict will depend on. You can make fair compromises in a conflict situation whenever you feel it is necessary. You must try and respect and listen completely and carefully to the other person's point of view in the group. You must use polite and soft words and completely avoid negative remarks and negative expressions. Assertion on as required basis to be able to speak about what you think is right for proper solution and for fairness is also a necessity for resolving a conflict. You must accept the differences of viewpoints with a fair degree of dignity. You need to learn to disagree without any attachments of ill feelings or animosity or hostility. You must believe that there is a solution to the conflict situation. Last but not the least, you need to recognize the mutual interest of the group. I have finished